News Central now at this hour begins in West Africa with judiciary matters, where we understand that the Court of Appeal has set aside the Lokoja High Court order against the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and its chairman, Ola Olukoyede, in a contempt case filed by the former Kogi State Governor, Yahaya Bello. The Court of Appeal, presided over by Justice Joseph O.K. Oyewole, granted the EFCC's motion for a stay of execution and proceedings in the contempt case pending before the Kogi State High Court. The court held that the motion ex parte had merit and adjourned the hearing of the motion on notice to May 20th, 2024. It also ordered substituted service of all processes in the case to be pasted at Yahaya Bello's last known address in Abuja. The appellate court's decision has halted the contempt proceedings against the EFCC and its chairman and allows the appeal filed by the anti-graft agency against the ruling of the Lokoja High Court to proceed. Now to graft, still on graft matters, some protesters from Zamfara State, northern Nigeria, have called on the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to investigate, reopen the investigations on the former governor of the state, Bello Matawale. The protesters, under the auspices of APC Loyalist Forum, want the EFCC to investigate all petitions against the former governor, including the alleged contract diversion up to the tune of 7 billion naira, or 70 billion naira, I beg your pardon, during his tenure as governor of the state. The EFCC Director of Public Affairs, Wilson Owujiran, who received the protest letter on behalf of the chairman, assured the protesters that the commission is determined to pursue every corruption case to a logical conclusion. EFCC further assured the protesters that the case is still open. Anti-corruption stakeholders and pro-transparency organizations have raised an alarm over an alleged plot to sabotage the fight against corruption in Nigeria. They made this warning in the nation's capital, Abuja, saying there is a plan to target the nation's anti-corruption agencies and the judiciary. Joshua Imarai tells us more.
With Nigeria's anti-graft agencies targeting high-profile politically exposed persons, many will admit that the war against graft is on course. Pro-transparency agencies in Nigeria have, however, raised an alarm over an alleged plot by some individuals to stifle the effort against corruption. They say efforts are already in play to sabotage the recent successes achieved and have concluded plans to shield wanted persons from scrutiny and investigation.
Over the past few weeks, we have observed with great concern the malicious attacks and deliberate effort to blackmail anti-corruption agencies through sponsorship, influencers, insensitive opinion publication in some national dailies, online and electronic platforms, all targeted at discouraging anti-corruption efforts and shielding people who have actually looted this country from being investigated.
The agencies are saying that this is a clear case of corruption fighting back. Some of them believe that to effectively combat corruption and make significant strides towards progress, it is crucial to adopt a cohesive strategy that ensures that the anti-corruption war is no respecter of persons.
We recommend the following. 1, growing concerns over the declining levels of autonomy and integrity of the judiciary must be addressed. 2, to truly establish a flourishing democracy, transparency and accountability must be strictly adhered to in governance. 3, we urge the ruling All Progressives Congress Party and other political parties to take decisive action in purging its ranks by denouncing and breaking support with their members who are currently being investigated by anti-corruption agencies. 4, adequate resource allocation to the anti-corruption agencies has become imperative to uphold their independence and enhance efficiency in the anti-corruption process.
They further urged the Inspector General of Police to promptly reinstate the police personnel withdrawn from the Kano State Anti-Corruption Commission so as not to stall the commission from executing its duties effectively. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarai.
We head back to the courts where a federal high court in Kano has granted an interim order restraining the National Electricity Regulatory Commission from implementing a hike in electricity tariff for Band A customers in the state. The court directed the Kano Electricity Distribution PLC to discontinue the implementation of tariff increased from 76.54 naira per kilowatt to 225 naira per kilowatt per hour. Justice Abdullahi Muhammad Liman, who granted the order, also directed NERC and KEDCO to stop taking any step pending hearing and determination of a motion on notice filed by the applicants. NERC and KEDCO were also restrained from intimidating or threatening to disconnect the applicants from electricity supply for non-acceptance in the April 2024 supplementary order pending hearing in the substantive suits. The court also ordered that the interim injunction be published in national dailies and fixed May 16th for hearing on the motion on notice. Now to security issues. Suspected bandits have attacked Marang Aero, where they abducted the village head of Kaki and Kaya Villages and killed 8 villagers in Bernangwari local government area of Kaduna State. We understand that the attackers invaded the area around 8 a.m. local time on Thursday, during which they also abducted 4 farmers who were on their farms. According to sources in the area, 6 women were abducted in one of the villages. It was also gathered that the 2 village heads were on their way from Kakangi to Bernangwari when they were abducted. The 8 villagers were killed as they tried to rescue the captives, and the member representing Kakangi Ward at the State House of Assembly, Yahaya Musa Dansalio, who confirmed the incident, said all 8 people killed were from Kakangi. Staying in northern Nigeria, Sokoto State Police Command has confirmed the arrest of some of its officers allegedly involved in the kidnapping of minors in the state. ASP Ahmed Rufai, the command spokesperson, confirmed the arrest of ASP Kulu and an individual named Elizabeth. Investigations have begun regarding the reported kidnapping of 5 minors. Earlier, ASP Kulu and Elizabeth were detained by the FCT Police Command for allegedly abducting 5 children, including a baby girl less than 2 weeks old. Rufai stated that both suspects and victims were transferred to the Sokoto Command from the FCT for further inquiry. Among the kidnapped were 3 toddlers below the age of 2 and 5-year-old girl named Asma Uyau, taken while en route to an Islamia school in Sokoto. Now let's also tell you that some repentant Boko Haram members have attempted to free comrades from a Maiduguri police station. The insurgents, previously arrested for illicit acts, also assaulted immigration and anti-drug checkpoints. Borno State Police spokesman Kenneth Dasso confirmed the incident, saying officers repelled the attackers. The assault followed a police operation at Kaswar Farah based on intelligence reports that some drug peddlers, drug users, repentant and current Boko Haram insurgents were indulging in nefarious activities. The joint operation resulted in 8 arrests. Now earlier, a security analyst in Taria Balibo spoke to us on this development.
We will certainly see more of this kind of activities, because when you talk about repentant Boko Haram, what kind of program do we have to ensure that they are truly repentant? Currently now, there is this de-radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration program that basically runs for 6 months, and it's called the Operation Safe Corridor program. 6 months is not enough time to de-radicalize someone who has been seriously influenced by radical views for over 10 years. So you cannot de-radicalize him within 6 months and expect to get him rehabilitated and reintegrated into society for him to live a normal life. So there is still the element of terrorism residual in them that will only manifest when the need or the opportunity arises.
News Central now returns after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, Nigerian journalists have been tasked to focus more on climate challenges which are having their toll on the livelihood of citizens. This was made known by the Minister of Information and National Orientation during a briefing marking the World Press Freedom Day with the theme, A Press for the Planet, Journalism in the Face of Environmental Crisis, where he commended their efforts in the past but urged them to do more.
Freedom Day is a reminder for all governments and stakeholders of the need to respect their commitment to press freedom, and it is also a day of reflection among media professionals about issues of press freedom and professionals' ethics.
This year's theme, A Press for the Planet, Journalism in the Face of Environmental Crisis, calls us to action as we are confronted by an environmental crisis of unprecedented magnitude, one that poses a threat not only to our planet, but to the very future of humanity.
In the same vein, World Press Freedom Day is an annual event celebrated on May 3rd. It was proclaimed by the UN General Assembly in December 1993 following the recommendation of UNESCO's General Conference. Today, on World Press Freedom Day, Nigerian journalists are raising their voices while highlighting their challenges. News Central's Chidinma Ona compiled this report.
Journalism, the world over, is a profession fraught with its own fair share of risks and challenges. In 2012, the death toll of journalists peaked at 147 deaths, with the Maghreb and the Middle East known to be the most dangerous regions for journalists. In Nigeria, while there have been some positives for journalists to celebrate, it has not been a totally smooth ride. There are still concerns, and a demand for better treatment still rings loud.
Being part of the global community, and particularly in the developing world, where the media is always in confrontation with the people in government, then we keep having challenges that we must respond to. For us there, this is yet not the open society. Our job is to create a more open society. So we continue to do that, and that is the purpose, the essence of this particular celebration, to draw attention to it and to let the world know that yes, we may have made some progress, but we have a lot of work to do.
The welfare of journalists is extremely important. We are saying no to intimidation to journalists. We are saying no to not giving adequate welfare to the journalists. We are saying yes, life insurance to the journalists, yes, life abundance to a journalist.
Practicing journalists, as well as intending pen pushers, celebrate today as an avenue to speak out on the tough conditions journalists work in.
Most times they don't give importance to journalists, and then they harass them, and then sometimes they get to lose their equipment, and then there's no insurance policy to cover for it. And even when they lose their lives, the government seems to not worry about it.
Journalism is not a weapon for destruction, because over the years, people who don't really like journalists think that they are weapons for destruction, and it is not supposed to be. It is that thing that will help people to invest more in journalism. Because, I mean, we have challenges with funding, we have challenges with a lot of things.
World Press Freedom Day remains an important day for media professionals to spark conversations on how to create a safer and more enabling environment for journalists.
Now to discuss this, we're joined by Director, Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development, Akintunde Babatunde. Hello, Akintunde. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Can you unmute your mic for us so we can hear you? All right, Babatunde Akintunde, if you can hear me now, with journalists facing threats in Nigeria, how would you say that they can secure communication technologies by using them to actually protect investigative reporting and sources? If you can hear me. Hello, can you hear me? All right, we'll try to reconnect with Akintunde. Now moving on, the federal government, through the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, says only 1 million out of the 3.6 million applicants for the Presidential Conditional Grant Scheme will be beneficiaries. The scheme, which started March 9, 2024, offers financial grants of 50,000 naira without repayment obligations to eligible small business owners operating in various sectors such as trading, food services, ICT, transportation, creatives, and artisans in the 774 local government areas of the country. It targeted 70% of women and youths, 10% of people with disabilities, and 5% of senior citizens, with the remaining 15% distributed to other demographics. Now, according to the ministry, disbursements are not based on any specific criteria, but in the order applications are verified. All right, now I'll be going back to the press freedom story, and I'm told we've been able to reconnect with Akintunde Babatunde. Akintunde, if you can hear me, please, can you say something?
I can hear you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I was asking that with journalists facing threats in Nigeria, how can secure communication technologies be used to protect investigative reporting and sources?
Right. I think that first to shout out to all journalists and media professionals globally. Happy, World Press Freedom Day. I think it's important for us to acknowledge the very, very daring work of everyone who continue to improve the industry. Yeah, technology has evolved as a tool for journalists to do their work, and it has improved the pace of work. It has helped, in helping to collaboratively work together. It has also helped to detect, disinformation, to track, to conduct opinions on intelligence investigations, and all of those. But it has also, ironically, been used as a tool of surveillance. Where the powers that be continue to track journalists, continue to hack into their system. We've seen that manifestation over time. We've also seen evidence where technology has also been used. The use of AI has been used to create deep fakes that further advance the proliferation of harmful content. So but the point right now is that we have more opportunities with us today to think about how journalists could use technology to improve the work that they do. And one of such way would be one, they could leverage technology tools to collaboratively work with other professionals from around the world in order to track environmental crisis. You get to see that the theme of this year is advancing press freedom, and also environmental crisis. So you get to understand that there's that nexus. We also need to, start, journalist training on open source intelligence tools. These are tools that journalists could use to conduct social media analysis, social network analysis, to connect together,
all right,
actors.
What about blockchain technology or other decentralized platforms? What role do they play in ensuring the safety and authenticity of sensitive journalistic materials in Nigeria?
Right. So a lot of those tools have been used in investigative reporting. If you look at how a lot of, at the center, for instance, we've built a tool, the Leaks NG tool, where journalists could potentially get citizens could send, anonymous leaks and whistleblow on on a platform, it's been secured through technology. So we've leveraged. So there are existing technology that journalists could leverage. But the challenge is access to these tools, and how much journalists are able to afford it. So I think that it's not much more about the availability of the tools, but much more about the accessibility of them to Nigerian journalists. I think globally that has improved. The Panama Papers, the Paradise Papers, those were high-level technology where journalists could conduct investigations without without such information being leaked. But
all right,
in Nigeria,
talking about technology being accessible to Nigerians, what about digital forensic tools? Are they accessible to Nigerian journalists, and can they be used by them to verify information and combat disinformation campaigns? How can they be used?
Yes, so we have those tools that have been, some of those tools have been developed. We just developed a digital tool at the center, for instance, where journalists would automatically track disinformation in audio formats. And it's free and accessible to journalists in Nigeria and in Africa to use. We have some other tools that journalists could use to track, press attack. The Center for Journalism Innovation and Development, we developed that called the press attack tracker. So those are free and accessible for journalists to use. But what I was trying to make centrally is that while some of those institutions who continue to build the tools have them, are free for all, the fact that it has not been decentralized for every, in terms of how many journalists know that these tools exist, how do we continue to even train journalists in the use of these tools? I think that's the point that I was trying to make, that it's more than ever, the tools are there, we continue to build more tools, but more than ever, it's important for us to ensure that journalists are trained in the use of these tools. We have open source intelligence tools. We've conducted some trainings on digital skills for journalists even in rural areas. But it's much more about we train them, we support them with the resources, and then to ensure that the application of these tools becomes an intentional approach from journalists. And we do that more by getting newsroom managers to also key into a lot of the digital initiatives that we have available for journalists. The CJID has been doing it. We have a lot of other institutions that continue to do and continue to build tools. We have there are global tools. There is Nubia AI that has been created for journalists to use, upload data. They upload data on the platform, and it automatically turns the data to stories. And that makes journalism very easy. That makes the job very easy and impressive to do. So so we have chatbot that the Dubawa created that journalists could just check throughout the day, with summary or fact check articles. So I think that we have those tools available. It's just a call to action now for journalists to just get on the research, put on their research lens and see how much this use can be used to improve their work.
All right, well, thank you so much, Akintunde Babatunde, for speaking to us on this.
Appreciate it.
Now let's move to a business-related story. In a move reflecting ongoing economic challenges, Globo, a major food delivery company in Africa, has announced plans to cease operations in Ghana by May 10, 2024. Citing profitability concerns and a reevaluation of investment priorities, the Spanish firm's departure will impact local employment and Ghana's GDP. Now, this decision aligns with a broader trend of multinational companies relocating from Ghana due to factors such as high borrowing costs, heavy taxation, inflation, and currency depreciation. The move underscores the urgent need for economic reforms to sustain investor confidence and stimulate growth. Now, to discuss this, I'm joined by David Osabute, his convener, Model ECOWAS Summit, and political analyst. Hello, David. Thank you so much for joining us at this time.
Yes, hi, good day, and thanks for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure. All right, so David, what would you say is the reason for the exit of multinationals from Ghana? Did the government impose unfavorable rules, hefty taxes, or currency controls that made it impossible for these multinationals to turn a profit?
Yeah, so largely for a number of multinationals that are currently exiting Ghana, they've cited high cost of doing business in Ghana. If you look at Ghana's inflation today is hovering around 25.8%. Then you have an exchange rates declining. So now the dollar to a CD is around 13 CD, 71 pesos. You have the cost of borrowing around 28.7%. So generally, the cost of doing business has gone very, very high. And then in recent times, we have been battling with unstable power issues, and that is causing a lot of businesses. They have to fuel their generators, they have to fuel their plants. So largely, it's having a heavy toll on businesses, or the cost of doing business is actually very, very high. The CD is also not stable.
All right, so but how has the Ghanaian government reacted to the multinationals' departure? Are there concerns about a domino effect with other companies leaving?
Well, largely, I haven't heard any official communique from government mentioning some of these things, but generally there are rumors of other multinationals that intend to exit Ghana because the cost of doing business in Ghana has gone really, really high. And I think that is something that the government of Ghana will need to pay attention to. Currently, for businesses that are operating in Ghana, I tell you that the number of customs tariffs and levies is around 17. We have a total of 17 taxes that businesses would have had to deal with. So if you look at it, generally the cost of doing business is very, very high in Ghana. So for me, I'm not surprised that businesses like Globo have left. Unilever sometime this year have also indicated that they were relocating their tea manufacturing plant to Nigeria. You even have the likes of Jumia Food, Dark and Lovely, and even Media. They've all exited the
all right, but
Ghanaian
then,
market.
David, what about the opposition party? What are they saying about the situation?
Obviously, the opposition is leveraging on some of these developments and trying to talk about it. And then obviously, because Ghana is going into an election in December, obviously these are some of the things that the opposition is talking about, their highlights. And I recall former President Mahama, who is doing a comeback after in one of his engagements with some professional association, has been mourned the number of taxes that businesses have had to deal with. So it's something that the opposition is leveraging on, and for them, they are highlighting that as part of their campaign.
All right, now, what's actually happening in Ghana, sounds really, really familiar with what Nigeria is actually facing. Now, I want you to tell us if a broader regional instability played a role in this decision. Is the company concerned about the overall political climate in West Africa?
Largely, I'll be very honest with you. I do not think that the general political climate in West Africa has got to do anything with why businesses are exiting Ghana. I think that is largely got to do with the fact that the cost of doing business in Ghana is gone really, really high, and a lot of these multinationals are not able to cope with it. So therefore, they may want to reassess their investments and focus on some other countries which they think would inure to their benefit. And if you read the statement that Globo issued, citing it as part of the reasons why it's leaving, they said that they want they have reassessed their investments in Ghana, and they think that it will be better for them to focus their business operations and grow it in their 23 other countries. Generally, it's got nothing to do with the political climate. I think that generally it's just the high cost of business, doing business in Ghana, that is necessitating some of these things.
All right, well, thank you so much, David, for speaking to us on this.
All right, thank you for having me.
All right, with that, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, News Central Now returns. Welcome back. In Central Africa, At least 9 people were killed in explosions on Friday in a displaced persons camp on the outskirts of Goma in the war-torn Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, according to witnesses, bombs fell on huts housing displaced people during fighting between M23 rebels and the government. After 8 years of dormancy, the mostly Tutsi M23 rebellion took up arms again in late 2021, seizing large swaths of North Kivu province, some 40 kilometers northwest of its provincial capital, Goma. The origin of Friday's blast has not been clearly established, but government spokesman Patrick Muyaya accused the Rwandan army and its M23 terrorist supporters of being responsible. We head to South Africa, where the Umkhonto weSizwe party says former South African President Jacob Zuma will honor summons by the ruling African National Congress. The ANC on Thursday announced it had served Zuma with a notice to appear before its disciplinary panel after he declared support for a rival party in this year's general election. Zuma is now the leader and face of the MK party, and he has been campaigning for the party ahead of May elections. He was suspended from ANC in January, and MK party spokesperson Lamulo Ndelela said Zuma is not a coward and will attend the disciplinary hearing scheduled for next Tuesday.
Process with regard to former President Jacob Zuma is underway in terms of the ANC's disciplinary processes, and he will go through a disciplinary process and he will go and argue his case there, and it's up to the disciplinary committee to make a finding. It's not up to any one of us to preempt that and pronounce a finding. So the disciplinary committee works independently of all the other functioning or executive structures of the ANC.
Earlier, a researcher at University of Johannesburg, Dr. Nolutando Pungula, spoke to us on this development.
The former president has openly declared that he is actually campaigning for another party, and furthermore has availed himself as a presidential candidate for that particular party. So in that sense, it really doesn't make sense. He's campaigning for the opposition party in December of last year, so that's exactly like 5 months after the announcement. So the ANC has actually not done well in actually attending to the matter. It has taken them about 5 months, and only attending to the matter when we have less than 30 days to the national election. So the former president is definitely leading, and he is ensuring that they are playing by his rules.
Still ahead, China launches first probe to collect samples. We'll bring you details after the break. Now, in other news from around the world, China launched a probe on Friday to collect samples from the far side of the moon, a world first as Beijing pushes ahead with an ambitious program that aims to send a crewed lunar mission by 2030. A rocket carrying the Chang'e 6, a lunar probe, blasted off the Wenchang Space Launch Center in southern China's Hainan province just before 5:30 p.m. Heavy rain engulfed the site just before minutes before the launch began, they said, with hundreds of onlookers gathered nearby to witness the latest leap for China's decades-long space program. Washington has warned that the program is being used to mask military objectives and an effort to establish dominance in space. Earlier, our international correspondent, Afia Hagen, spoke to us on this development.
This mission to the dark side of the moon, as you could call it, realizes Xi Jinping, the Chinese president's long-held ambition, to get a mission to the moon and to get one going, and that's what he has managed to do with the Chang'e 6 probe. Now, this is one of the most rapid the space advancements in recent years. And this particular probe, it builds on the mission of previous probes. We had the Chang'e 4 mission in 2019, which landed on the far side of the moon, and Chang'e 5's 2020 mission, which returned to Earth with near-side moon samples. Now, this is all about potentially putting more people on the moon, perhaps in a more permanent basis. Now, this particular mission is going to go to the moon's far side and then use an existing Chinese satellite to navigate its way home.
Police on Friday entered the Sciences Po University in Paris to remove dozens of students staging a pro-Gaza sit-in in the entrance hall as protests fire political debate about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. One student, who identified himself as a representative of the Palestine Committee named Hitcham, said university authorities had given the group 20 minutes to leave before they forcibly evacuate because of exams to be held from Monday. Bastien said he and other protesters had been peacefully brought out in groups of 10 by officers. But another student, Lucas, working towards a master's degree, said some were dragged and others gripped by the head or shoulders. Administrators had closed Sciences Po's main building on Friday in response to the sit-in.
Mais on regrette vraiment l'intervention de la police une nouvelle fois, plus d'une semaine après la première fois, chose qui a embrassé l'ensemble de la communauté professorale qui était profondément choquée de cette entrée de la police à Sciences Po, de l'entrée de la police dans des institutions universitaires, à la Sorbonne aussi, et encore une fois une ligne rouge a été franchie. La revendication elle est encore la même, la grève de la faim elle continue, il y a de plus en plus de gens qui la rejoignent et sur les campus de Paris et de région, dans d'autres facs il y a des gens qui vont commencer des grèves de la faim également, et on n'arrêtera pas tant qu'il y a...
In the world of sports, Football Kenya Federation has moved to suspend 3 referees and a player amid serious allegations of match fixing in the Premier League. The Federation's Integrity Department is spearheading an investigation into these accusations targeting individuals believed to have compromised the fairness of the game. The provisional suspension list includes referees Meshach Omondi, Jacqueline Barongo, Stephen Adeya, and FC Talanta player Kevin Olango. FKF had also suspended Division 1 side Kibra United's team manager Abdulkarim Amele. Now, these suspensions bar the individuals from participating in all football-related activities until further notice. Africa's fastest man, Ferdinand Omaya, has been confirmed for his first Diamond League meeting of the season, where he will be going up against fellow sprinters from the US and Jamaica. Omaya will launch his 100-meter campaign at the Diamond League meeting in the US, the Prefontaine Classic, scheduled for Saturday, May 25th. He has great memories of Hayward Field, since that's where he ended his 2023 season with a third-place finish behind world indoor 60 meters champion Christian Coleman and triple world champion Noah Lyles. Now Coleman will lock horns with Omaya one more time after the World Indoor Championship. Jamaica's World Indoor bronze medalist Akeem Blake will also be in the mix, contesting for his first victory in the Diamond League meeting this season. Still talking sports, Real Madrid goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois will play his first match for the Spanish club after a 9-month injury layoff against Cadiz this weekend. Now, the Belgian international has missed the entire season with a knee ligament injury and suffered a further setback in March, which required another knee operation. La Liga leaders Real Madrid have their first chance to be crowned champions this weekend, although they need a helping hand from this season's shock title challengers Girona. Courtois has been back in team training for several weeks and was part of Madrid group to travel to Germany this week to face Bayern Munich in the Champions League semi-final first leg 2-2 draw. In 2022, Courtois was the prime architect of Real's Champions League triumph, proving himself to be one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of our top stories. We told you that appeal court overturns lower court's order in ex-Kogi Governor Yahaya Bello's case. We also told you that protesters storm EFCC, demand reopening of former Governor Bello Matawale's probe. We also told you that blasts kill 9 in camp for displaced persons in DR Congo. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Time channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks. Many